Yeah, we can start from this side here. I think we are finished with the direct online. We have gone through the wiring. Now we want to have a look at direct online with a forward and reverse control. What we have done, we have simply added another contactor and also another start push button additional to what we had on the direct online, one direction. Now in this one here, the arrangement is more or less similar. As I said here, now we've got our circuit breaker instead of the fuses and the switch isolator. The additional contactor, the contactors are virtually the same. The forward and reverse is just an additional contactor. This one I've tried to label it in color blue, the contacts for the reverse contactor in blue color. Then the ones for the forward are in red. Now we said when you want to change direction of rotation, you simply interchange two faces. So in this case here, we can see our L1 here. Once connected, it will go down as L1. When you go in the reverse, again, the L1 will remain. The L1, when we interchange, comes to 1 here, and then from 1 it goes to 2, inakuja to terminal number 6. So L1 in the forward direction itakuwa inapita hapa. When you are going to the reverse, itakuwa inaingilia terminal number 6. So L1 and L3 is the one which you have interchanged. And the L3 here, when the forward direction itakuwa inaingia straight up. When we change, L1 inakuja hapa, L3 inakuja hapa, inaingilia hapa 5 and 6, na ikitoka hapa inakuja kwa number 1. So when you go to the reverse, L1 and L3 are interchanged, and that should give us a direction of rotation for our motor. Again, we are still having the lamps, and here I've included my overload. I think that one was a bit missed in the other one-way rotation. And then the other thing we need to ensure is that if the motor is running in the forward direction, it cannot run in the initiation cannot be energized for it to run in the other direction. That's why we have now in our control circuits, we have introduced these two contacts here, which are referred to usually as interlocks, and they are in auxiliary contacts. As you can see, our contacts have got the 4 contacts. We have utilized them. The first 3 for the power connections, 13 and 14 in parallel with our start push buttons. So we need some more terminals. And those terminals are available in our auxiliary contactors, which we have used terminals number 61 and 62, but then they are interchanged. The 61 for the forward are used in the reverse circuit, and the 61, 62 for the forward, they are used in the reverse. So these ones are the ones which will ensure that if the motor is running in the reverse, if the motor, for example, is running in the forward direction, then this forward contactor here is terminals 61 and 61. This one here will open. So that this one will open if it's running in the forward direction. So in case, even if you press the start push button here, there's no path to energize your reverse. And then when you start running in the reverse direction, this contactor here will be energized, the reverse, and then this 61 and 62 will open, so that even if you press the start push button here, no power will be available to the contactor here for it to energize. Because should that happen, you can see here we have interchanged L1 and 3. If the 2 of them were to be on at the same time, L1 and L3 will be shorting. So you have to provide that interlock. Now the only drawback with our electrical wiring diagrams is that you have to understand the sequence, because when you look at the circuit itself, it looks like everything is connected. And that's one advantage of when you have the ladder diagrams, because they are usually drawn in a sequence. So you have to understand the circuit for you to explain. And usually we draw these ones the way the contacts are when there is no power available. These ones are open, this one is closed, this one is closed, this one is closed, this one is open, this one is open. So we draw a diagram when there is no power connections, how the contacts will be. Of course, for the lamps here, this one to N is connected back to that terminal there. And then we have our indicators, one for the forward, the other one for the reverse. And in case you want additional push buttons, as we said, you can incorporate them in your circuits. And the need arises depending on what the factory is doing. The stop push buttons are usually closed contacts. And of course, this one will be simply a series connection 1 and 2. The purpose is you should be able to stop your motor from here or from this point here. So when you want to start, like now in the forward direction, you simply press the start in the forward, this one here, and when this one closes, power is available through this fuse or circuit breaker, the overload, which is common, the stop push buttons not pressed, and then number 2 is connected to our start push button here, number 3. And then at the same time, the power is available at number 13 of our contactor, forward contactor. And then when you press this one here, then the power is available through number 3 to 4 down to our contactor here. Now you have to ensure that the reverse contactor here is not operating. So 61 and 62 will be making, and then our forward contactor can be energized. The minute this one is energized, this contact here will open. Once it's open, this one cannot be energized. At the same time, number 13 and 14 will close, and then the connection through 13 and 14, there will be a path for power to number 4 down to a contactor, such that when you release your start push button, this one, 13 and 14, will be our hold-on contact. So coming here onto the wiring diagram, again, more or less, we had what we had before, the power circuits coming in to number 1. Now these ones here, we have simply connect them directly from number 1 to number 1, number 2 to number 2, number 3 to number 3, number 5 to number 5. Now the looping has been done on the underside. So number 1 will be connected to number 6, and number 6 to number 1, vice versa. So L1 and L3 are the ones which are interchanged, and the interchanging we do in the downward connection. Now, of course, the wiring here looks mumbo-jumbled, and of course the idea is that this, the connection of this overload here usually poses a problem, since the overload must be in the circuit when we are running in the forward as well as we are running in the reverse. So the power from here must go through the overload before it goes down to the motor. And then we have got the indicator here for the forward, like before. We have introduced this one here for the reverse, a new contactor, and then the auxiliaries. These auxiliaries, they are mounted on top of the contactors. And when this one is energized, the contacts will move in tandem. This one will appear as though the whole contactor is one unit. So this one's, all these 4 are open. 2 of these are open and 2 of them are closed. So here we normally use the normally closed. In the case of the reverse, in the circuit of the forward contactor. And this one's here in the forward contactor, the normally closed, we use them in the circuit of the reverse contactor to do our interlocking. So when you want to start, you connect your isolator, the power on, and also the control circuit, and then it's for you to decide you want to go forward or reverse. If you want to go forward, this will be a push button for the forward. The green lights on, and the power is connected to our motor. So it runs, and then when you want to stop, you simply press the stop push button. And of course, you may again want to go in the forward direction or the reverse. So when you want to go to the reverse, you simply press the reverse push button. Now you can see this contactor, the one on this side here is the one which is energized. You have got that light there. The other one is off. And then we have provided our interlocking here such that if I press, now suppose somebody wants the motor to go in the forward direction, you press this one here, you can see you cannot get this one to be energized. These two are the ones providing the interlocking. And if you observe closely, you can see here we have got this indication here which is yellow, which means this contactor is not energized. This one here, that protrusion has gone inside. Because the contactor here is energized, the contacts have been moved onto the inside. So that is another observation about the auxiliaries. They also indicate whether they are energized or de-energized. So when you want to stop, you stop that one. Now you can see this one has come out, like this one here, when it is stopping. And then when you energize it, it goes inside to make sure that the contacts are actuated. The ones which were closed when the contactor was not energized, when it's energized, they open. And the ones which were open, they close. And that description is usually given here. We have the NC, normally closed, and the NO for normally open. It's a way of making additional contacts. So now this contactor here with auxiliary, I've got 6 contacts which are normally open and 2 which are normally closed. And of course, the auxiliaries, you can get these auxiliary contacts, you can make them, you can get them with 2 or the 4 types. I think that explains our forward and reverse. It's only that, well, our light cannot, with the light you cannot tell whether it's forward and reverse. In case we are DC, we could demonstrate that one, but we'll try and get a motor later on, and so that you can see the forward and the reverse. But the circuit is something like that. So the neck expects you to be able to draw something like that, and you also expected, when you finish, to be able to wire a circuit like that one, and this is what is wanted in the industry. If you can do the wiring here to conform to that one here, the other modifications I'm talking about, as long as you can read your diagram, you should be able to connect your control and the power circuits for your motor connection circuits. So I think we have covered those 2 circuits, direct on line, and then we have finished direct on line, forward and reverse. So we are left with one more practical, which will be for the star delta connection. So if you want to learn more about these ones, just come to JEMSHAH, and of course much more. Of course, this one we are limiting it to the next syllabus. There is a lot more you need to do if you are specifically going back to the industry. So we meet next time when we do the star delta connection. And Bana Joseph, this year Mr. Joseph, he is our student, is pursuing diploma module 2, and these are some of the circuits he is learning about. So he did all the connections after he learned the theory, and he can demonstrate hebu weka start tuone forward. Start forward ndio hiyo, it runs, and then you can stop, and then reverse. All right, very good. And of course, when we started, we had a small problem with our cable. The cable was cut inside, and experience came in handy. Joseph managed to sort out the problems. So sometimes when you buy your cables, they may have problems. Of course, something, unless your experience is something you might overlook. Assuming your cable is okay, it may not be okay. But once you practice, you learn these things. And of course, that's why normally most companies, they want somebody with experience. Now, when you learn and you do the practice here, you're also gaining experience. There are some faults you come across which you cannot be taught. Here we teach you what it will be like. But when you do practicals, you come across some faults which you discover and learn. I think Mr. Joseph is a fast learner. He wanted to postpone this one, but he managed to solve a problem. So next time, itakuwa star delta. inshallah.